Okay, so here we go. We're going to go into chapter 21. And although I don't come right out and say it, Bob spends less than a week at home. And which I think would be pretty consistent with his personality up at this point. He's a little bit self-centered, but he's very driven on what he wants to do. I'm also going to say that what you're going to find about this part of it is much like I did in the first part of the book with Billy Allen, in that it's a first person that I'm doing it in. So you'll get used to that. So I just want to say that if you're doing some voiceover work, or if you're doing reading, like I used to read books for Audible, which is acx.com. I used to make about $100 a month doing book reading when I had my voice. And this I found to be very good. It's called Entertainer's Secret. And I buy it, I had been buying it off of eBay. There was a guy up in Chattanooga that had really good prices. And since I'm here in Atlanta, I would buy it from him and buy a couple of bottles at a time. But it's for a dry throat or hoarseness. And it's a really, really good product. It's only about $10 a bottle. So I generally try to I buy two, and as soon as I open up the second one, I order some more. But I find that this is pretty handy for me. And it helps. At this point, I don't know what I do. I'm just not going to worry about it that much anymore. It is what it is. So here we go to chapter 21, and we're going to follow Bob Lollar, and we'll be bouncing back and forth to keep an eye on the Monarchs and the team and Billy Allen. But the second half of the book is a lot about Bob Lollar. Now keep in mind that out of high school, when he got pranked in college, he got really upset and got rid of the letter of intent to play football at a major school, and went off and joined the Army because they promised him he could go to flight school. He also went to Ranger School and Jump School and had a distinguished career in the military, going through OCS and becoming an officer. But then he decided really what he wanted to do was to become a minister. And so that's where we're going to pick up Bob Lollar's life. So I arrived in Chicago and rented a car and drove out to the campus at Moody for my 10 a.m. interview on Wednesday. I had always been a confident person, but I still felt a little fear and trepidation as I realized that rejection could be just as well as acceptance. I know that this was quite different from sports and athletic competition. I know that I will need divine intervention, all of it that's available. As I make my way along the sidewalks of the campus, I am most impressed with the impeccable care taken to the stately, ivy-colored brick buildings, tastefully flowered grounds, and perfectly cut grass. It was clear that no one took shortcuts off the sidewalk here. Anybody that walked around the campus at a calm and businesslike manner stayed on the sidewalk. Certainly not like running around a normal college campus with numerous students late to class. This was indeed different and more serious. I climbed the steps to the administration building for my first appointment with the dean, Father Spencer. Father Spencer had been the dean at Moody for over 23 years. Most people could not remember who his predecessor was. He had been there so long. Father was a title he affectionately earned and wanted everybody to use. Father Spencer came out of his office as I had been announced by telephone by the receptionist, Miss Miller. Father Spencer was a shorter man, but well-built, not the least a bit portly or seemingly out of shape. He was well-tanned, with a short haircut in the old Princeton style. He came up to me with his hand extended and a very warm smile. As I rose to greet Father Spencer, he extended his hand to shake. Father Spencer took his left hand and clasped it warmly on the outside of mine. "Bob," said Father Spencer, "it is so nice to finally get to meet you. I feel like I know you well already after going over all the glowing recommendations sent to me on your behalf. I don't believe that I have ever had someone come here more highly recommended as you." "Father," I returned, "it's very nice to meet you and finally be given the opportunity to attend your school. It is a great honor and privilege that I hope I can live up to." "Bob, come into the office and have a seat," said Father Spencer. "Mrs. Miller, please hold all my calls." I preceded Father Spencer into a beautiful old office building. The walls were old mahogany inlay with columns and columns of built-in bookcases all the way to the 9-foot ceilings. I thought to myself that this place would qualify for a mini library in any small town USA. I was kind of frozen in place as I scanned the entire room. I felt a presence in that room that was uncommon to me. I could only describe it as a warmness, a peacefulness, a comforting calmness that was most comfortable. I felt it to be good in such an environment, I thought. Every bookcase was filled top to bottom with books of all different color bindings. Some were big, some were small, but there was not an open place, and even in some of them, there were some books that were laid horizontally on top of the row they were on. Father Spencer and I exchanged thoughts on my life experiences, what the Moody experience might be like, and what my expectations might be. Then Father Spencer made me a startling offer that took me quite surprised. "Bob," said Father Spencer with a most serious look on his face and tone in his voice, "as you are well aware, cities and towns all across America are having a terrible problem with violence, murder, and youth unrest. In many locations, the term unrest is an understatement, to say the least," he continued. "Gangs, violence, drugs, and even murder are all too familiar to too many to these young people. They appear to be trapped by their own foolishness. Way too many of these young people will not make it. They appear to be trapped. They lack respect. They are full of foolishness, laziness, greed. They lack respect for goals, for adults, academic pursuits. They lack respect for themselves even, and especially the church. Their lack of respectable adult supervision and the lack of no available positive role models only makes the problem grow quicker and become more self-destructive." Father Spencer became pensive for a brief moment as he collected his thoughts. He knew the task he was about to present to me was precedent-setting for the Institute, but he had prayed long and hard about it for over a year. He was only waiting for God to supply the right vessel that might be the key to possible success. I was not sure what was about to come, but I had no special apprehension about Father Spencer or what he might be leading up to. He sat calmly with his legs crossed and his hands comfortably in his lap. "Bob," continued Father Spencer, "I would like for you, while you're here, to head up a special youth gang outreach program through our institute. It will account for 8 credit hours each semester you participate out of the 16 total hours you will carry. There will be no set curriculum that we will be adhering to for this. We really don't know idea what to do. Beginning with the visitation outreach program that will be the cornerstone, and a Blacktop Ministry initiative our initial goals are: establish an open line of communication between any of the youths that we will let in that are at risk, profile them, their families, and determine what personal needs they have, determine any level of danger that they might be in either at home or at school or while they're participating in the basketball league, identify any negative influence in their lives, and we will help you work to eliminate them with the assistance of the Office of Catholic Family Services, the State Department of Youth, and the Youth Division of the Metro Chicago Police Department. And we also want to help establish a positive home environment or assistance in relocation to a positive family unit or apartment. I know this is a very brief and somewhat sketchy endeavor at this point, continued Father Spencer, but you get the main idea. I have felt strongly for a long time that the failure here is not the government, not necessarily the public schools, but the family and us heading up to church. We in the church may be the biggest failure of all. We, like the teachers union, have become a little bit too political and totally self-serving. Father Spencer continued, the teachers here in their union have taken care of themselves financially, but in reality done nothing to improve the quality of education or raise the students' academic standards. Their liberal social agenda of condoms in the schools may be the most damaging of all. And we in the church have done little of the church's original mission of taking care of the widows and the orphans. This may not be the original definition of orphans, but it sure qualifies here in the 90s and as we go into the 2000s, he concluded. Bob, I know this is a lot for you to take in, but you're going to meet somebody here shortly who is going to be a big help in you making this all become a reality.